Awesome. Thank you so much to those of you joining me here live for this email marketing webinar. Thank you to those of you watching the recording. I do want to jump right in. So let's talk about it. Is email marketing dead? I hear this all the time. People saying email is dead. No one reads emails. I just delete all of my newsletters and I don't ever open them. And if that's the case, why don't you unsubscribe? And also, I'm pretty sure there are at least some newsletters that you do open regularly if they provide value. So we will talk a little bit later about how to do that. Right now, I do want to talk about the value of email marketing, why you should care about it. First of all, everyone checks their email at least 15 times a day. I think most of us check it more often than that. Not to mention, many of us have alerts set up on our email. So every single time we get a new email, we get that little alert going, hey, check your email right now. And many of us rush to do that. So if you have a way to get in front of people in a place that they are checking 15 times a day, as opposed to social media, which many of us only check social media once or twice a day. Email, they are checking all the time. It's also probably the last place online left where people invite you in order to get them onto their newsletter, get them onto your newsletter. You have to they have to, well, you invite them, they invite you into your newsletter, into either their inbox. They do that either by opting in, or you can send them a little thing saying, hey, we're gonna, add you to the newsletter, and then unsubscribe here. Preferably, you should make sure they are opting in instead of that last option, because that last option is kind of squirrely, even if there is an unsubscribe option. So anytime you have someone saying, yes, I want to hear more from you. Yes, I want more updates. Please keep me in the loop. That is a huge opportunity that you should absolutely take advantage of. And last but not least, it's the only place where you can customize what each recipient sees when they open your email. And we will talk a little bit more about segmenting your audience, but for example, you can actually address them by name in every single email that they get. You cannot do that on social media. What you put out is what every single person who sees that post sees. So email is a great place for you to build that connection with your audience and make it feel like a one-to-one connection, even if they know intellectually that there are other people on the newsletter. So before we get started, let's talk about me, why you should listen to anything that I have to say or care about anything that I have to say. So I actually majored in English and psychology when I was in college. Thought I wanted to work in publishing, graduated in 2009 right after the job market crashed. So there were no jobs to be had in publishing or really anywhere else. So ended up answering phones for a few years, found myself between jobs at one point, and my roommate at the time, her dad, who was an attorney, was awesome and offered to give me stuff to do around his office until I got back on my feet. And one of the things he needed was someone to write blog posts for his law firm. And he knew I had a strong writing background, so he offered me the gig. And I was like, what? I can get paid to write? Seriously? Yeah, sign me up. So I jumped at that chance and started writing for him, and then for an associate of his, and then for some friends of mine, and it just kept growing from there. So little did I know I ended up getting the perfect degree for content marketing without even knowing that content marketing was an option or even what it was. So that worked out really well. So yeah, started out with blogging and then grew into email marketing and other forms of website content and all that good stuff. I got to study how it all works together, because yes, blogging is great, but if you don't have a way to get those blog posts in front of the people who have said, oh, that was a really great blog post, I really wish I could get more like that sent straight to my inbox, then you're only getting at best half the results that you could be getting out of your blog. All right, how to optimize your headline. This is super important because we all judge the headline, right? How many of us, like I said, we all look at our email and we decide in a second if that what goes into the spam or the trash and what we're actually going to open, sometimes what we save for later. So your headline is what's going to make or break that decision. So first and foremost, keywords, not so much from an SEO perspective, just because there is no SEO benefit from a newsletter just because it goes straight to their inbox. No one's going to search on Google for your email and find it there. But it does give them a good indication of what your email is all about. And that's essentially the main goal of the headline, right? Is to tell them this is what it's about. And then emotion, this is why you should care. We are emotional creatures. We make decisions based on our emotions and then use logic and rationale to justify those actions. So if you give people an emotional reason to click through, these are the results you can expect. These are the bad things that might happen if you don't click through and open and get this new information. Hook them emotionally, and that's what's going to prompt them to actually take that next step and open the headline or open the newsletter. Make a promise and keep it. Don't just try, create a snappy headline like those clickbaity things that we all see online that we all click through. And then when we get there, it's not at all what we thought it was going to be. But we clicked on it because the headline was awesome. You do need something that's catchy and it's going to get people's attention and it's going to prompt them to click through and consume your content. But the second half of that is you have to actually keep that promise. The headline has to be true to what is in the email. It has to provide a realistic expectation of what they're going to find in that email. And keeping all that in mind, you have to keep it short, because if you don't, it's going to run off. The end of it is going to run off and it's going to get cut off by their email and they're not even going to see it. So try to keep it as short as possible, while including the keywords and the emotional and the emotional component and making a promise. So it's a lot. I know writing the headline is always the hardest part, but it pays off. All right, people always want to know how to grow their email list. So first and foremost is a lead magnet. This is something that you set up, you have as an offer on your website. It is something they get for free in exchange for their email address to get them onto your newsletter. Make it super clear that by giving them by giving you their email address, they are signing up for your newsletter. Don't make that a surprise. It should be super clear, like, hey, this is what you're going to get as a result of signing up for this, as a result of downloading this lead magnet. Lead magnet can be anything that your audience would find of value. Mine is a blogging checklist on my website. I have seen short PDFs. I have seen short ebooks. I have seen videos even. Anything that you can offer that you're comfortable offering for free, but that still provides value to your audience. It's something they actually want. Absolutely have that lead magnet. Ask for referrals in your newsletter. If something as simple as saying, hey, if you're enjoying this newsletter, please let someone know that you think would enjoy it. You'd be surprised how powerful that can be. Share it on social media. Have it as your CTA, your call to action. It could be your call to action at the end of your email saying, hey, by the way, if you have anyone, this is of interest to anyone you know, please pass it on. Running a contest or a giveaway is also a great way. Again, get people to give you their email address in exchange for being entered into some sort of a contest or a giveaway. But again, you have to make it super clear. This means you are subscribing to the newsletter. Make sure they don't think that it is only part of the contest and it's separate from the newsletter. Make it really clear what they're signing up for, literally. Make your sign up form short. That is the best way to get people to actually fill it out. The longer it is, seriously, each thing that you add after their email address and maybe their name makes it that much less likely that they will finish filling it out and actually submit it. So make it as short as possible. Really get just the bare minimum. Now, that being said, I have seen people who ask for a bunch of information before they'll give you the free thing, the lead magnet. And that is a great way of weeding out the people who are not really interested. So this kind of depends on what your goals are. If your goal is to get as many people into your newsletter as possible, ideally people who have some sort of interest, it's not just, everyone in the world, but you do want people who have some interest in what you're providing, then short and sweet is the way to go. But if you want to get really specific and you're like, I really only want people who are really serious about this and are towards the end of the buyer journey and are probably going to hire me at some point, then having a bunch of information that they have to fill out before they get the free thing is a way of weeding out the people who are not as serious. So you can go both ways with that, and you can absolutely go both ways. You don't have to choose one or the other. You can have multiple lead magnets on your website, and maybe One of them is short and sweet. It's has a broad appeal, but maybe one has a narrower appeal. So you want to get that buy-in and have more of that information that they're giving you before they actually get the free thing. And then calendar link. I have gotten so many people onto my newsletter by including it in my calendar link. Those of you who registered for this also had a question there saying, hey, can I send you free bi-weekly updates to your inbox? I have gotten, and that is included in the sign up form of every single meeting that I have with people. So you might be surprised how many people will sign up that way. So something as simple as including it in your calendar link and connecting that to your MailChimp or Constant Contact or Campaign Monitor, whatever you use, is a great way to quickly and easily grow your newsletter without a whole lot of work on your part. What to put in your newsletter? Lots of stuff. And we don't have to go through all of this, but these are just, if you wanna take a screenshot here, that's great. If you're really fast at writing them, you want to write them all down, that's great too. I don't think you have to think super hard about what to put in your newsletter, because you're hopefully putting stuff on your blog, you're putting stuff on social media. Don't assume that your newsletter audience is also going to your blog on their own and also seeing all of your social media posts. They are probably not. So it really is beneficial for you to send them information, the same stuff that you are putting on all those other places, also put it in your newsletter. It's kind of a way to just consolidate or sum up, hey, here's what's going on this week or this month or however often you want to send out your newsletter, right? So industry updates are great. How-to guides are great. Blog posts, obviously I'm a blogger, so that's super easy. I always put the intro to my blog in the newsletter, and then a little, hey, if you want to read more, click over here to read the full thing. YouTube videos, and I can't remember the percentage, but I do remember reading somewhere that an email that has a video in it is significantly more likely to get opened than one that is not, that does not have a video. And I have absolutely found that for myself, and my clients have found that too. When they have a video in their newsletter, their open rates go up. So just including a video, super beneficial. Gift guides. I know we are not in the holiday season yet, but it is just around the corner. So you might want to think now about what are some gift guides that make sense for your audience, and start thinking about how you can include those in your newsletter as early as October, if not earlier. Referral programs, case studies and testimonials, event invitations. Anytime you are hosting an event, let everyone know that that is happening, and let them know multiple times, because they might see it once, especially if it's weeks or even months out. They'll be like, oh yeah, that's great, I'll sign up for it later, and then they forget about it. So don't be afraid to put that out as many times as you possibly can in your newsletter. And then event recaps. If you had an event, let people know how it went if they couldn't make it. FAQs, those are frequently asked questions. For those of you who don't know that acronym, that is always a great idea for content. That is also one of my top ideas for creating blog post topics, is what are the questions that you are hearing over and over again? Because if you are hearing them all the time in the real world, at networking events, on prospect calls, on client calls, at cocktail parties, if you are hearing it in the real world, chances are good people are looking for that information online as well. So include answers to those questions in your newsletter. That is how part of how you're going to set yourself up as a thought leader, as an expert in your industry. Holiday greetings, those are easy. Recommendations are always super valuable, and inspirational quotes. I think inspirational quotes have kind of gotten a bad rap. There's like a certain kind of person or kind of brand that uses inspirational quotes, and other people want to stay as far away from them as possible. So no judgment here, whether you want to use them, whether you don't. You know your brand, you know your target audience better than anyone else, so know what they want to see. When should you send your newsletter? This is a big one. So I always hear people who are afraid that if they send out their newsletter too often, that they're gonna turn people off and they're gonna bother people and it's gonna be super annoying and people are gonna unsubscribe. The simple answer to that is, I mean, don't send crap, send valuable information. And no, you don't want to send it every day or every other day, because you cannot keep up with that production schedule. That's asking too much for you. But at the very least once a month. If you send it less than once a month, I've heard some people say they want to send it quarterly. If you don't email me for 3 months, I'm going to forget who you are or where we met or the fact that I signed up for this newsletter. So at least once a month, up to 4 times a month, um, which is every week. I do mine every other week. So anytime within that schedule that makes sense for you and your schedule and your audience, whatever you decide, make sure that you are consistent with it. It is a schedule that you can consistently stick to, even when you're busy, because that is something that needs to be done consistently. People need to know they're going to get the newsletter from you every, however often it is. As far as when to send it, okay. So generally, midday, midweek, that means Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, anytime between like 11 a.m. and 1 p.m., people tend to check their email, take the time to read those newsletters on their lunch break. And Tuesdays and Thursdays are best of all. But track your data, because I started sending mine out on Tuesday, super early in the morning. And I looked at when people were actually opening it, and most people were opening it Wednesday morning. They were waiting a day. So I started sending it out Wednesday morning, and I send it out a little bit later in the day. And my open rate went up. So, and some people see that people are saving their emails for the weekends and they don't open it until then. So the good thing about using something like there are a lot of good things about using something like MailChimp or Constant Contact, but one of the benefits is they give you this data. They tell you not only what your open rate is, but your click-through rate and when people are opening your newsletter. So track that data and then try sending it when people are most likely to open it, because that's going to increase your open rates. You can also personalize sending times. You usually have to pay a little bit more for that, but you can get a better result as well. And then, like I said, be consistent. I cannot stress that enough. Segment your audience. So this is my example, right? SEO, content strategy, blogging, and email marketing. If someone exhibits an interest in email marketing, for example, by signing up for this newsletter, I can put them into a segment of email marketing in my newsletter, so that every time I write something or put something out about email marketing, they get that update. Someone who's asking about blogging or SEO, they're not going to get that email marketing update, because that's not what they expressed interest in. If they expressed interest in both, they can absolutely go on both lists. But segmenting your audience and making sure people only get the information that they are most interested in is one of the best ways to increase your open rate and your engagement, because they're hearing from you less often, but they're also, when they are hearing from you, it's much more likely to be relevant to them and something that they really want to hear about. Unsubscribes. I hear this all the time. What if people are unsubscribing? How do I get people from unsubscribing? So first and foremost, follow the advice provided in this webinar. Keep your promotions to 20% or less of the emails you sent out. So because I heard someone even just this morning saying she doesn't want her email list to just be like, hey, buy my stuff, or hey, hire me for doing XYZ. Your newsletter should never be only selling. It should always, always provide value. So provide value first and foremost. 80%. Here are the tips, tricks, updates, stuff you need to know. This is stuff you can use in your day-to-day life without me. Have fun. And then 20% of it can be, all right, now if you need help with this, reach out to me. And last but certainly not least is just let it go. If someone unsubscribes, it's because they're not interested in your content. It's because either they weren't they weren't opening your emails, or they were never going to open your emails. So they're just never going to become a client. They self-selected and said, nope, this is not for me. That's fine. That's actually a good thing, because now that makes your list a little bit smaller. You have fewer people that you are reaching out to, and that makes it more targeted. Yes, Jen, attract who you want and repel the rest. Absolutely. If your message is not resonating with them, that's a good thing. That just means they're not your person. Let it go. Focus on the people who are your people. And then I have some testimonials for people I've written blog posts and emails for. This is from the lovely Andrew Harrison. He's a real estate attorney. Said that what otherwise would have been a tedious process was easy and pleasant work because of working with me. And he now has content he can proudly associate with his business in a fraction of the time it would have taken him to write it himself. That is very true. I do write very quickly, and a lot of my clients are people who hate writing and really struggle with writing, and it takes them a really long time, and it's just faster and easier to offload that to me. This is Anatoly saying that I share value at a maximal level, was blessed to have me on his podcast, which was super fun because of my unique writing methods and storytelling style. So high quality copy that brings in traffic and sales. Don't hesitate to reach out to me. Thank you so much, Anatoly, for that. And then last but not least, Linda Lamb, one of my favorites. Allison understood just what I needed from my content and exceeded my expectations in every way. So that is it. That is, and you can go ahead and ask me anything. This QR code here is so that you can reach out to me. And for those of you watching the recording, you can either use the QR code real quick here, or you can just shoot me an email at info@avwritingservices.com. And that is it. That is my webinar. Thanks so much for joining me. And please reach out if you have any questions.